Hello, you may have heard about the tax lien stakes or some mortgage options or property options by the county government or local government, if you like, or some of those areas, whether parishes or county or whatever it might be. Basically, they have their website where they do some of their property listings. These are property that typically goes on options that they want to dispose as a result of the property owners not paying taxes. They sometimes do not come up on conventional website like the one right in front of you here, which is the foreclosure homes in Colorado, for example. But they could be listed in a specific website where the county government choose to list those properties. One of those that is quite a little bit difficult to navigate through is some of the county in Colorado. And once you get to understand how to navigate your way through, it's a lot easier to go through the process so long you are considered as a U.S. tax person or a U.S. person or a citizen or what it may be. Now, if we look at some states, perhaps if we want to check the civic source, which is which some of the states use, like the state of Louisiana, for example, to list some of their properties that they want to option, like the ones you could see here, they can be very straightforward, but in the state of Colorado, it's not the case. And I think some of the property options in the state of Colorado is normally done somewhere in November every year, but it's always good to have a good knowledge about when they are going to do their options for property sales. And one interesting thing that I actually found today is beyond property sales, they also do options in some of the assets that they want to dispose of. This could be older cars or cars that are salvage or those kind of items. But the one I am going to talk about in this video is to have access to how to have access to some of the property sales or what we call the tax sales properties. So tax tax property typically makes the property owner has not been paying taxes or has some kind of issues in meeting some obligations, and therefore the county or the parish um, uh, government will or the council will decide to sell some of those properties. It's not very typical in the state of Colorado, and it's not the same across all counties or all states across the U.S. They vary in terms of how they practice. In some states, you could bid for some of the options and get the property right away. While some states, you could bid for what we call the tax lien, which means you have the lien on that property and you have to wait for a certain number of years before you can take possession of the property. That means the canteen is basically giving the owners some opportunities to meet up with those payments. And if they don't within a certain amount of time, that property eventually goes into the individuals that win those the options. But irrespective, tax lien, or if you want to call it uh, tax property stakes are quite a good investment you might want to consider. They are less risky compared to some other investment that you may have come across, and they have more kind of a higher return on investment compared to some other type of investment that are out there. Now, in the state of Colorado, if we want to look at the Denver and Colorado states, for example, if we look at this option, and we basically open this website, which is denver.coloradotax6.com. You will find here, start here, you have the register here, and then you have the preview item for six. So you have all of these options here. One thing that you want to do if you are going to bid for some of those properties that may come up later or currently there is to click on this register, and it's going to ask you, basically I did some registration earlier. It says here in Colorado, the tax certificate conveys no property rights. It is simply a lien carrying an interest rate. Properties cannot be purchased on this site, unlike some other canteen, if you like. So I want to continue. And right here, it asks you to register. And one of the information it does require is either you have your social security number or you could use your employer identification number. And one other popular one that could be used by those who may not be in the state is the ITN, which sometimes you can get through a tax agent who will possibly help you to register for this ITN from the Inland Revenue. And then you move on to next, and it requires you to enter the information. So basically, you do this registration first, and then go through the process. There are numbers of agreements that they will ask you to sign. I personally have not thoroughly read through those agreements. There's a bunch of information to go through, which is difficult. Sometimes you might want to have a quick look at it and read through the ones you can, and then sign those information. My whole recommendation is you could read through it if you can, and you could basically register from here. And once you register in the Denver County, that also gives you the opportunity to buy tax 6 property lien or tax 6 lien on properties across other counties in the state of Colorado. So the other one is what we call Mesa County around the Grand Junction City. And basically the same process if you are registering through this, if you are going to make some options to buy property from this. And one good thing about some of the state of Colorado tax lien stakes on properties is basically they have this online options training that you might want to go through. But apart from that, there are a couple of videos out there that you may want to watch to understand how this works before you actually go into it. Like if you are here, it says 6 information, Mesa County online tax lien stakes is scheduled for October 31st, 2024. So basically somewhere October 21st or November, some of those stakes actually take place. But if you check some other county like the state of Arizona, for example, you may realize that they currently have some property that is currently on for sale in this January, in the month of January or in some other months across the US states. And in the state of Louisiana, like the one I show you here, you could see all this property listed here that are currently available for sales right now. So if you're on this side, you click on start here, and that literally takes you to this website. And basically from here, you could also navigate your way through. I think the one I showed you earlier is probably one of the best way to quickly go through. For example, how to get started, you go on register here. And that takes you to the similar website I showed you earlier. It also requires you to have your social security number. On this website, one of the things they require is either your social security number or your employer identification number. So this takes you how some of these states basically different from county to county, and even though you are dealing with the same state. And that is, of course, one of the things you have to learn about the US in terms of the variability on how things are done based on the location or the county council that you're dealing with at that time. I hope this video is useful for those interested in investing in tax lien, in tax 6 lien or tax lien 6, if you like, or properties. Or if you are looking at buying the property, the outright ownership, you may look at some other state like state of Louisiana and look at these processes. Also study how the properties auctions work in those states if they are tax 6 deed. So basically, you need to understand the difference between what we call the tax 6, the tax links 6, and then you also need to understand the tax D6. So these are two different things. One of them, you could buy the property and take ownership. The other one, you could basically have right or interest in the property, but you do not have the ownership of that property. So understanding those basic differences is very important.